End of April for the first couple weeks of May.
Dr. Mark Perlmutter, an orthopedic surgeon from North Carolina and vice president of the International College of Surgeons, volunteered in Gaza.
So, of all the disaster zones you've seen, how does Gaza compare?
All of the disasters I've seen combined, 40 mission trips, 30 years, ground zero, earthquakes, all of that combined doesn't equal the level of carnage that I saw against civilians in just my first week in Gaza.
And when you say civilians, is it mostly children?
Almost exclusively children. I've never seen that before. Never seen that. I've seen more incinerated children than I've ever seen in my entire life combined. I've seen more shredded children in just the first week.
Shredded?
Shredded.
What do you mean?
Missing body parts, being crushed by buildings, the greatest majority, or bomb explosions, the next greatest majority. We've taken shrapnel as big as my thumb out of 8-year-olds, and then there's sniper bullets. I have children that were shot twice.
Wait, you're saying that children in Gaza are being shot by snipers?
Definitively. I have 2 children that I have photographs of that were shot so perfectly in the chest I couldn't put my stethoscope over their heart more accurately, and directly on the side of the head in the same child. No toddler gets shot twice by mistake by the world's best sniper, and they're dead center shots.
In fact, more than 20 doctors recently in Gaza also told Sunday Morning about gunshot wounds to children. One American doctor told us he even reviewed CT scans to confirm what he saw because he, quote, didn't believe that this many children could be admitted to a single hospital with gunshot wounds to the head. Some shootings have been captured on video. The Israel Defense Forces declined our requests for an on-camera interview. But in an email, a spokesperson told CBS News, quote, the IDF has never and will never deliberately target children, adding, quote, remaining in an active combat zone has inherent risks. And the IDF stressed that it calls for the evacuation of civilians from combat zones. The UN reports that to date, more than 80% of Gaza's population has been displaced and the majority of its buildings destroyed. A reality which has taken its own toll on the well-being of children.
What about the emotional wounds?
How can you measure that? I can't measure my own. How do you be an orphan and watching your family, melted in front of you and shredded in front of you? How do you fix that? Ever fix that?
In fact, so many Palestinian children have had family members killed that doctors created a shorthand term, WCNSF, wounded child, no surviving family.
We're very proud and honored to be able to bring...
Last month, speaking in Washington, D.C., other American doctors echoed Dr. Perlmutter's calls for help.
We've described it as a catastrophe, a nightmare, a hell on earth. It's all of these and worse.
We didn't even have hand sanitizer or alcohol or soap most of the time.
And while we're there, we're listening to, aid is getting in. We're taking care of civilians. They're not being targeted. And yet we're witnessing a completely different story.
For dozens of miles, we saw 18-wheelers parked bumper to bumper, engines off outside of Gaza. Food or health care could not get in.
How many kids are in danger of starvation in Gaza?
All of them. Absolutely all of them.
United Nations experts have accused Israel of carrying out a targeted starvation campaign.
Yeah. For the past 60 plus years, or should I say 70 years, these people walked in after they've been chased away from many countries, especially in Europe. Their ship docked in the UK, and then the UK Navy shot at that ship. then they said, no, these are Ashkenazi Jews who are trying to find refuge. The UK said no. They went to Spain. Spain said no. They went to Greece. Greece said no. The only place where they could find it was Palestine. They had nothing much. They were accommodated. Even the first female president, Golda Meir, she had a Palestinian passport. She became a president of Israel. That came after. And you have so many questions today when you see this kind of brutality in 2025, where children die like there's nothing. Sometimes you even ask yourself that when the media is showing us these images, is it a way for us to be immune, or is it a way for us to say it happens, forget about it? Or, someone also asked the question, how come we don't have a military intervention from the other countries? Because the Americans are bringing weapons to Israel to be dropped and kill innocent people. Now, West Bank and Gaza, they just open air prisons. These guys can't move, can't do much, and now the food has been cut off. Trucks are there, as the doctor said, the 18-wheel trucks are jammed there, they can't do much. Some foods are delayed there until they reach the expiry date. I remember an image that showed a donkey that carried flour. The Israel snipers shot at the donkey so that the people must not get the flour. Is this really about Muslims and Zionists, or this is a war against humanity? And I can tell you, it's not over in Palestine. Syria, Yemen, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, it's coming. Turkey. So how did we get here? A country that is supposed to be championing democracy is the same country that supply weapons for innocent people, defenseless women and children to be killed. It's and now most people will understand where South Africa was coming from to take these guys to ICC, even though ICC is useless. But the statement was made to say, we do see you. Sometimes I question why not even one or two countries like what Yemen is doing strike these people, distract them, do something so they can be distracted a bit. So you create crisis for them. Iran did it for that short space of time, but on the other hand, they were busy assaulting Syria. They were busy, and how big is this country? What kind of ammunition or resources they have to provoke 12 wars in one go? So while you were watching this and what you read, Tiniko, and as a parent yourself, as somebody who grew up in the apartheid years, in Johannesburg, you know Dompas. I think apartheid was brutal, yes, but this extent, this is in another level. Yes, we did suffer, but this there, it's I don't know. And the neighbors, the Arab neighbors, they carry on business as usual. That's why I'm starting to think that Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Saudi. It's like they hate Palestinians. Egypt, they hate Palestinians. It's like they are in the deal with Israel to say, no, just finish them off so we can move on. What is your opinion in this?
Yeah, you said it's surprising that a country that was supposed to be facilitating democracy, it's supplying war weapons to Israel to destroy the Palestinians. I will want to add on that we have Israel that suffered for years. Israelites, they suffered for years under the Germans during the time of Hitler. So these people were supposed to have learned the pain that they have expressed, because the reason why we study history so that we be able to understand today and the future, but it looks like we are not asking correct questions. Maybe Hitler was right somewhere. We need to ask this painful question. Why are the Jewish doing the same operation that was so painful as Hitler was operating on them? We really need to ask. Maybe Hitler, they provoked him. Hitler, the reason why he operated the way he did, because really, I really don't understand these people. They somewhere, somehow, they need to review the history and do justice. So we can look at 10 areas where we can talk about the history of the Palestinians being in pain. The late Ottoman and the British Mandate era, 1948. We can take it back to the pre-1917, where Palestine and including Gaza was part and parcel of the Ottoman Empire. And then also in 1917, again, the British government also issued the Balfour Declaration, and that's why we are where we are today. Many people don't go back to this history so that they be able to understand what inspired today comes from the history. And then the tension between the Jewish and also I would call them immigrants by that time, and then also the Arab Palestinians, sparking periodic violence between them. So when you say America is supporting the Israelites, this is the history of Europe and America being operating unfaithfully in other countries. I will blame more on Britain, because Britain historically has been doing violent things under the emblem of expansion. And then going back to the 1948, the Arab-Israel War, the Nakba, it's a painful story where now we see over 700,000 Palestinians were displaced in their own homes. That's very, very painful. And then between 1948 and 1967, we remember the war that we talk about every time. And I'm surprised when I was going back to the history and find that Egypt has been doing nonsensical behavior against Palestine. What is that they have done, these Palestinians, to be hated so much by even their own brothers? Because when you are a neighboring country and you don't entertain stories with your neighbors, then it's incorrect. You need to remember that you cannot be in isolation. You operate, you exist because of other countries. So you need to support one another. The 6-Day War.
Yes.
Yes, on the 6-Day War, we happened to see the overturn where Egypt was leading in ensuring that the Arab nations, they be able to sustain their power, because they were able to see that now Israel is coming with nonsense to take over everything that they have. 1987, again in 1993, the uprising, the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, where Israel was taking over. So it's a history where they push. We can talk about 10 areas that are so painful that what they've been doing, but people don't look at the history. Hence, they blame the
Hamas.
group that try to fight for the Palestinians. And I say to them that when you don't contextualize your story, you won't be able to tell to judge what happened. Hamas, before they are a group, they are also human beings. Secondly, they are part and parcel of all the citizens of Palestine. Surely you will need to fight. Looking at the history of what Israel has been doing to the Palestinians, surely you will need to stand up and fight. So the manner in which media brings the story to the public, stating that yes, Hamas attacked the Israelites. The
They're
history is
taking the
that,
story
yeah,
October 7. So as
yeah,
if before October
yeah,
7, there was nothing. And
there
life
was
only
nothing.
started. There was
Yeah,
nothing. I mean,
yeah,
you took it back to 75 years ago, close to 80 years ago. Nobody's talking
yeah,
about that. I mean, I saw
yeah,
a rabbi said, all the children of Palestine must die because we have not forgotten what they did in October 7. I mean, this guy is probably 70 years old.
yeah.
And
So
now you
without
start to see,
contextualizing, yeah, yeah,
yes, but it's deliberate.
yeah,
It's deliberate.
yeah. So when you start from October 7 and you forget about the history, then you're not gonna be able to judge what happened. These people has been experiencing challenges for many years. And when you
Mm.
look at how the Israelites operate in Palestine, it's like they have expanded, even though they haven't declared. They have their own buildings. There are different laws that they apply for the Israelis, for the Jews, and then there are laws that they apply for the Palestinians. So, but you
Yeah.
are staying in the same area. So this law belongs to Tinigo, this law belongs to Joe, but you are
Apartheid.
staying in a, so it demonstrates apartheid. Hence, South Africa came forward stating that we need to relook at this matter, because the manner in which we have been treated as the South Africans is the same manner in which the Palestinians are being treated by the Israelites. So look at how they even brag the IDF. They brag when they
Mm.
kill people in their own areas. I really don't understand in their heads, because to me, beside them having suffered under Hitler, they are the people who were supposed to be facilitating for the culture of the Bible, and they are not doing that. Now I see the Bible as a bullshit document that won't help me anywhere, because it's not applying culture. What it applies is to promote nonsense. These are the chosen people. When you look at the history of the Bible itself, you find in there where they are bragging about conquering the people of Jericho. So this God of theirs, it's about conquering. So once you start
Yes.
making reference of the Bible as a Christian, then you are supporting the Israelites and their nonsense that their God is the God that conquers other people, but God is
It's
God of peace, because we look at the environment itself.
it's strange that these Ashkenazi Jews who come from mostly bottom part of Georgia, some in parts of Russia, some in parts of Chechnya, some in parts of different places who are historically from there. Some in Poland, like or Melowski, who today were told that is Benjamin Netanyahu, so he can sound Hebrew. Nasser said they left black, but they returned white.
White.
Now, let's look at, I want us to look at, yesterday, there's a 10-year-old boy being taken out by snipers
Yeah.
because he was solely going to collect flour because his father is no more. So he now has to take charge as a 10-year-old. One clip was showing the father sitting in the house. The daughter says, Dad, can you please go fetch food for us? And he said, my child, I cannot do that because they kill people there. There's no food in the house. You go to collect the food. They just go through a rampage, a happy hour where they kill people who are facing that side. They're shooting from the back. Is this still fighting Hamas? Or is this ethnic cleansing, wanting to wipe everyone out? So use the food as a trap. And I must also indicate that in the food that they are supplying, there is tablets and chemicals that are supposed to castrate males. There are, it's you starve a person and then you feed them with poison. You are guaranteed and sure they will eat the poison because they've nothing else to eat. So what do we then do? Now we have a video of an American ex-Marine explaining what the IDF control room was saying about a man who carried his child because they were being squashed on the ground. There's a stampede because people want food. And an instruction came to say, shoot, unarmed. And the world is on mute. Spoo, play that video for us. And the world is on mute. And people can't we get Turkey or Turkey is a sellout? Can't we get these superpowers that are opposed from global south to drop a bomb or something? Why do we have a small group like this of the Houthis who are, imagine if we're 10 Houthis. But this also explains, in Lebanon, they took out Narsala because Hezbollah. So if we had Hezbollah, we have Hamas, we have the Houthis doing the same thing at the same time. Well-coordinated effort. So these guys were smart, take out Assad, cut the supply from Iran to Lebanon. Once we do that, kill Yahya Sinwar, kill Ismail Haniya, kill all the leadership. So there's no coordination. Then we can start working. We must give it to them. They have a plan, and their plan you can see. They don't even hide it. They have a plan when they're about to do something. They will go at length to kill just so they could get what they want. But at the end of the day, are these people still being killed for that land? Or is it still for religious values? Or is it that it's a strategic point since they call it Middle East where they could control both parts of the world? Or is it a pipeline that they're still fighting for? Are there things that the media is telling us? Is it still the reality? Because the Zionists, they will tell you that God promised them that land 3,000 years ago, but they don't believe in God. Today, they are demolishing Christian churches. They are killing Christian pastors. So which God that promised them the land 3,000 years ago?
I was told very explicitly, directly to my face, that our client is the IDF.
Your client is the IDF.
Our client is the IDF. And this came out in a discussion once where I was in the control room. I was on I was on control room duty that day. We had shifted responsibilities on a rotational base. So I was in there that day with the radio observing site number 2 distribution. A Palestinian man had picked up some children to let them step on his shoulders to get onto a berm because they were being crushed in the crowd. Site 2 is very small, smallest of all 4 sites. And these children are being crushed, and you pick them up there and put them up on the berm. And the Israeli Defense Forces liaison officer in the main control center with us comes up to the screen that I'm watching, and he says, "Tell your men to get them down." I was like, "We got this under control." I was like, "I know they know what they're doing. No, they're children. Let's calm down. Mm-hmm. Get them down now, or I will." Well, there's no IDF on the site, so I didn't take it as much more than just being, bombastic and like, okay, like, hey, we got this. He leaves and goes to his desk in the operations center, and he gets on the radio and he speaks something on the radio. It was in Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew. One of the contractors that was there was American that did speak Hebrew, and he notifies me. He said, "Hey, he just told the snipers at the IDF position," because the site number 2 is co-located with an Israeli base. Mm-hmm. He said, "He just told the snipers to take these kids out." I was like, "On the radio?" He's like, "Yeah." This lieutenant colonel then comes back up and he says, "Get them down." And I look at him and I say, "Did you just call on the radio and tell your men to shoot them?" And he said, "I'm going to take care of this if you don't." I said, "You are not going to shoot. You are not going to shoot children. You're also not going to shoot because if your men miss, you're going to hit others. You're not going to shoot." Thank God we didn't come to the conclusion of figuring out whether he would or not, because the children jumped down and ran off of the site. They didn't want to be there. They were unarmed. They didn't have shoes. One wasn't even wearing a shirt. They were starving. The chief operations officer for Safe Reach Solutions, our higher headquarters, so to speak, in the contract, beckoned me outside with him, and he looked at me in the face and he said, "Never say no to the client." And I asked him, I was like, "I didn't know the client was in there. Who's here? Did Johnny Moore come to visit?"
Right.
And he said, "No, the IDF." I was like, "The IDF are our client?" He said, "Yes, we work for them." A light bulb went off in my head.
I don't know. It's the head of snake. It's IDF. They control out of 500 representatives in the Senate in the US. Only 3 people who never took money from these guys.
Yeah.
So now, if you see the staff that is working on the ground confused about what is actually happening, how do we win this kind of war? So when I sit and play this thing out in my head, I say, they keep Iran occupied. They keep China occupied. They keep Russia occupied. It's almost impossible for these countries to respond there as much as they want to, because they have their domestic problems. Hence, there's this constant tariffs, constant threat. It's not about the business. It's about the control.
Yeah.
It's about me telling you that you are not going to do this. I mean, look at how stupid this thing is. The very same people. Trump will come and say, "Oh, Putin is doing terrible things. A lot of people are dying." He signs a check to drop more bombs in Palestine. Same guy standing in the same platform. What war is he fighting for there? It cannot be justified. On the other hand, the very same country, US, they sat in a boardroom and they have a discussion to say, we are not going to allow people to come around us with weapons, and then we sleep at night because we know the history of these countries is to conquer. Hence, we are pushing back. But how do you now justify what is happening there? These guys themselves, they for him to come out and speak like that, we must know that he obviously lost his job. He has nothing to lose, and he's one of many. In the IDF itself, the number of suicides is very high because these kids leave this country, some South Africa, some Spain, all over the world, go there excited. When they meet face to face with death, because the human in you will come, where you start to make sense of what you are doing, no matter how much money you can be paid. But guess what? These corporates that are owned by the Zionists, I saw that the new director of censorship, it's a former IDF soldier. Hence, you post certain things, it gets taken out, you violated community guidelines. Meanwhile, you are posting things that they do themselves, things that they celebrate. But when IDF soldiers celebrate after taking down a building full of people, they get given a platform on Facebook, on X, and TikTok. So I don't know, after listening to that guy, what was going through your head when you listen to this guy? Because this tells us that even in our government, we do have civil servants who sees wrong, who are able to come out and speak. Not in South Africa, you're not going to get that. In South Africa, they still follow the old rule. Our parents taught us to say, don't speak when you eat. So, question to you.
Yeah.
What did you think? Because obviously, that guy, he can speak because he did not eat.
Yeah.
What went through your head when you saw that clip?
I was really not surprised. Nothing surprised me, especially if it comes from the West, because they are not scared of implementing evil behavior. The history of misleading Iraq and Iran fight one another, it's their nature. Look at how Israel operates in Palestine. Their airstrikes often target densely populated civilian areas.
Yes.
And this results
Yes.
in homes, schools, and hospitals, and major infrastructure being destroyed. So I'm really not surprised. And then you look at the number of the Israelites who are dying from this. It's a small number. Even if the number is correct, you will never know because they hide their stories. The media's out there to tell the stories about Palestine, but they won't tell you stories about Israel because, like you said, it's like they sit down and write down on how they can implement this program. They distracted Russia there with Ukraine, and then you look at China being attacked through world trade. That's war. It's not an easy thing. You can see here our own president is coming up with ways on how we can support our own people to ensure that they sustain their a trade relationship with the Americans. It's because these are distracting. You cannot talk about the war or the political issues without contextualizing them to the economy or the other way around. So these guys, they are very strategic. Look at what's happening in Asia. The conflict that is taking place there is just to distract China so that China mustn't do anything
Keep them busy.
yeah. So I say to people that, you know what, I think the strategy that the Western countries are using is the same. They use religion to divide brothers and sisters, and then they distract you with other activities so that you don't respond to their nonsense. And they also use culture to promote themselves, because the manner in which they talk, it's like nobody must question them. They say that Israel has right to defend itself, and nobody's speaking on behalf of the Palestinians. The Palestinians have been in pain for decades, and they never rested. They've been trying to exist, and they still don't exist, because the people who were supposed to support good culture about God, they are telling God to go and hike. And I'll keep on reiterating that, because it pisses me off when I see somebody quoting a Bible and thinking that that's all they can say. Those are weak minds.
Yes.
Use the environment, use nature to explain how God operates, because God is not in the Bible. He is he or she, whether it's he or she. You look at the environment itself, the creation, then you will understand God. And God loves peace, because when you have peace, you feel okay. But when there are violence, like what's happening between Israel and Palestine, you don't rest. So there's no way we'll see way to improve ourselves if we don't come together as countries and start asking critical questions about what Israel is doing. It's like they just have the right to destroy the Palestinians. They just want to wipe them away, and they are winning. The videos
Do
that
you
we
think
see, what
do you
you were
think they
saying,
will stop there
they won't
after
stop, because
this whole thing? Yeah.
they, they won't stop. Even the mandate coming from the United States of America that lets them finish their job, and then we'll sit down and talk. It's gonna be like that. These people are the definition of evil. If you never, you don't need to go to the dictionary. What is evil? Look at their behavior, what they are doing. That the evilness, it's about destroying. You can see the person doesn't even have flesh anymore. It's just the skin and the bones, but you still strike on that person. So it shows that the definition of you being a human, it's something that I'm struggling to see what exactly they are doing. Maybe it's for them, they are happy, but the Jewish people who still have moral in their behavior, they are moving out of Israel, and they see themselves as dirty people, because once you say that I'm a Jewish person, and the very same people are destroying another nation, then what does it say to you about the principles of the values that we need to follow? Ubuntu, love one another, and integrity, honesty, because honesty doesn't exist between the Israelites and the Palestinians. Every time it's about misleading one another, which is really unfair. I feel for the Palestinians. Every day I post on my WhatsApp message, trying to send the message to those who support the Bible that this is not the book of God. It's the book of evil
Yeah.
people. Look at what they are doing. They've been doing this from the ancient times, stating that their God is the God that conquers. It's nonsense to represent God as an evil somebody who creates you and tomorrow wants to destroy you. It's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense to me. Actually, it's I don't know how to say it, because you cannot use God and say that we are the chosen nation, but you behave in an opposite manner.
Now we are told we live in this world does not want to have peace, because there's this one country in particular There's a conflict that is happening in Azerbaijan and Armenia as we speak, where a lot of Orthodox and church pastors were arrested. Guess what? Israel is taking the weapons in the West, send them there because these guys are at the bottom of Russia. So they want to crack a hole. This is an invasion in making to Russia. No one is seeing this. No one is watching what's happening. Now, we are told that from just a mere tweet between these guys through social media, there is weapons that are now being placed. You can put up the headlines for us. Now, Trump went on a panic mode. The Russians set a trap. He fell for it. I must take you back in 2014. So this headline came from a tweet. A president of the most powerful nation deploys nuclear submarines in response to a tweet. So in 2014, in the Black Sea, America had their spy submarine. Because Black Sea is under heavy surveillance. So the message went to Kremlin. The boss was not in Kremlin, he was in Sochi, in the southern part of Russia, at his former residence. Then he authorized to say, no, just go fly over the Red Sea, cut the signals, and leave it. The spy plane went, did few cycling, it went back to Moscow. Do you know that 14 of those technicians in the submarine resigned? Some were admitted in psychiatric hospitals because there was no light, there was no technology, there was no radio, there was nothing. That thing became a coffin for them. After a message was sent, then the boss said, go open for them. So they leave. As soon as you open, give them an instruction to go. They did not think twice. Imagine you are right in the middle of the sea. All of a sudden, you go blackout. You cannot contact anybody. There's no Mayday. A day or two later, then you get your Mayday. Those guys, psychological, till today, they're not normal. Everyone. So they were not killed by a gun. No, they were killed psychological because the message was sent directly to America to say, don't try. But again, if we look at the map, on this other side, on the eastern side, where Black Sea is and Washington, D.C., look at the distance. How are you going to defend yourself in Black Sea from, on the Alaska side, these guys are just divided with 50 kilometers. During winter, you can walk to the US, between Russia and US. So how is this going to be if Russia were to go there, place their submarines facing US? We would have known around the world to say, oh no, Russia is being an aggressor. Due to a tweet, you have a head of state who live on the tweet, who thrive on tweets. You spend so much money moving those submarines. We're not sure if those submarines have the nuclear or it's just two. But I can say to you, a trap was set for Trump. He walked into that trap. Now he has shown the muscle to say, this is how far we can go. And the Russians are just watching to say, look at this monkey. What are you doing? On the truth. Because he played in their hands. They understood that this is the kind of a person, this is a narcissist, this is a stupid person. He's a very good person to transport the message of the masters. So what they hired him for, he's doing just exactly that. Because some of the things you can tell that this guy is not in control. Well, there's very few presidents in the West that are in control. Majority of them, they're not in control. They get told what to do because they get briefed every morning on the intelligence. So the people who are briefing you are the people who are telling you how you should run your country. Many people do not understand that the intelligence agencies, their client number one is the head of state because they need to shift his thinking based on the threats that they create for him to make a particular decisions in running the country according to the threats that they manufacture, that they put in his head. Because he's not an intelligence individual, opposed to Russia, who's the president is an individual, or is an intelligence operative himself. So he knows the briefings that, okay, this one you guys are cooking it, I see it. Only president that came from intelligence community. Hence, Russia is strong like that. So what was your thought when you saw the biggest president in the world respond strategically based on a tweet?
Yeah, I told you even last week that this guy, I really don't understand him. Maybe Epstein's issues,
Oh
yeah, are
yes.
getting into
Oh
him.
yes.
Yeah, are getting into him. But
So this is a
I don't.
distraction.
Yeah, so actually, it's an embarrassment to the Americans to vote for this type of a leader. What are they saying about themselves? That are we using intelligence to make decisions, or we use social media? Really, Americans,
But
the
but
whole
but
Americans, the
continue,
superpower.
let me disturb you. Remember, this is not the first time they took a 88-year-old who has a dementia. They put him in the office. They did it. Trump took over from that guy who will shit on himself while he was running the country.
And forget what he said.
And forget what he said. This guy will just shake hand when there's no one. Half the
I
time
know
when
American.
he's making a speech, we'll struggle for good 2-3 minutes. You won't hear what did this guy say. So you're right in what you're saying that it leaves Americans, it leaves us questioning the Americans. What kind of leaders? Like the old saying that you always say that if God wants to judge a nation, he gives you Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Very often.
Yeah. Actually, the Americans, they were supposed to have sustained their position as the global superpower. They have lost it.
Yeah.
Voting for these types of leaderships, somebody who forgets what he has said, and then he move. You see that dog that forgets that the tail is theirs, and then they move around and move around until they realize that they're chasing their own tail. That's the type of leadership they have. We have this gentleman with the story and kids and Epstein. Other videos are coming out now, and they are really, really embarrassing. What he's doing right now
Yeah.
is to divert the world from focusing on Epstein's issues, and now we'll go for Russia. Russia is not the place where you can play your nonsense, because the manner in which they are responding, they can see childish in the management or the government of the United States. Pentagon didn't deny or agree on the issue, demonstrating that they know what they're doing. We know that with their behavior, they do things undercover, and then lately you realize that they have been moving strategically to destroy their enemy, even if it's came through social media, I know Russia won't take it light. They will make their own move, but these are bugging dogs. In the year 2000, remember when they took their spy plane to China and promised China that we're gonna hit you? Did they do it? They've been talking, and they go to these small countries that they can bully and say whatever they are saying, and then go to the big ones. They talk, but they never act. So I'm not seeing Trump's leadership concluding what they have started. Very soon, it's going to backfire on them and backfire on the current administration, because the current administration is under scrutiny from the Americans themselves. Right now, they are out of order, all of them.
We are often given leaders that are not serving the agenda of what we voted for. We are playing in the hands of external factors where the leaders are not really focused on domestic problems. You listen to our leaders, how much they invest their time and their money on external factors. Whereas there's a place in Detroit called Flint, they still don't have water since 2014. But trillions and trillions left that country to go and push the mandate of other external factors. We have this country here where we will go and run and deal with external factors. Our president has to look like a prefect in some country where it's miles away with his blazer and toughest shoes, looking like he's here to please the headmaster. The biggest question that we must leave our viewers today with, the question is there any amount of democratic system or voting system that will ever liberate our people?
Never.
So for me, that's my closing. So what is your closing line? Considering all the chaos that is happening in the world, what is one or two words that you like to leave our people with?
Yeah, I just want maybe in future we review media, the manner in which they report stories, because they are the ones also instigating wars. The stories that the media are reporting about Palestine, it's really unfair. So they need to contextualize what they are saying to the history, because they are becoming unfair. So that's all I will want to say for today as my closure.
Okay. They say during times of war, the truth becomes the first casualty. If there are questions people can still send, then we need to make time where we can answer, where we can get one guest that will avail themselves to come in and participate in our conversation. The main focus here is to focus on geopolitics and understanding how the world works, so we say. And let's have a lovely evening. And thanks to Mystic Cars Palito for sponsoring our show tonight. Thank you so much. Have a lovely